Good evening. The Philippine government has reported the passports of Alice Guo, her siblings, and business associate Sandra Ong to the International Criminal Police Organization, or Interpol, for appropriate action. During a forum at the Senate, Senator Hontiveros, who earlier bared that Guo has left the country, says she was informed about the matter by the Department of Foreign Affairs.
So batay sa information ko mula sa DFA, the Philippine passports of the aforementioned individuals, sina Guo Huaping, ang mga kapatid niyang sina Sheila at Wesley Leal Guo, at si Catherine Cassandra Leong, the Philippine passports of the aforementioned individuals have also been reported to the Philippine Center for Transnational Crime, Interpol, for their appropriate action.
According to the senator, the Philippine Center on Transnational Crime, which is the Philippine component of the International Criminal Police Organization, can now decide on the appropriate actions that it may take against Guo. This includes the decision on whether Guo and the others will be included in the organization's blue or red list.
Pumasok na rin ito sa atensyon nila bilang kaugnay ng issue ng transnational crime. So malinaw na ito ang pagkatao ni Guo Huaping at yung tatlo pa ay of interest sa kanila sa Interpol dahil kasabwat sila o iniimbestiga sila at subject yung isa sa kanila ng warrant of arrest ng Senate in relation to transnational crimes in relation to POGOs in the Philippines.
Hontiveros notes that Guo and her alleged cohort's world has further shrunk, especially now that even an international agency has been notified about their alleged crimes. Guo is under scrutiny after the Senate panel on women revealed her alleged ties to the illegal Philippine offshore gaming operators firm Zunyuan Technology Incorporated in Bamban, Tarlac. The Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission says it is aiming to file criminal charges against attorney Elmer Galicia, the lawyer who claimed he personally saw dismissed Bamban Mayor Alice Guo last August 14. In a briefing, PAOCC spokesperson Winston Casio notes that the information they received from other countries' immigration authorities disputes Galicia's claim in his counter-affidavit that he met Guo on August 14.
But based on the information and the verified information at that coming from the different immigration authorities ng ating ASEAN neighbors, we don't believe it to be true.
Casio says they will file criminal charges against Galicia once they receive other verified information from their counterparts.
So, inaantay lang po namin yung iba pang mga verified information coming from our counterparts via our Department of Foreign Affairs and our Department of Justice. And once we get those, we would have enough to be able to file a criminal charges as well against Attorney Galica kasi lalabas doon na nagsisinungaling pa po talaga siya.
According to Casio, Guo was last tracked in Indonesia after confirming with their counterpart. Guo apparently flew to Batam, Indonesia on August 18. In the same briefing, Casio also says that more cases are already waiting to be filed against the dismissed mayor. But in terms of the cases already filed against Guo, Casio says they are now currently awaiting for a Department of Justice panel to come up with a resolution. Casio adds that once a resolution is made, an arrest warrant against Guo may finally be released. Senator Hontiveros says she wants to realign the budget for the duplicating items in the Office of the Vice President's proposed funding for 2025, including what she dubs as improper 10 million pesos allocation for the distribution of Vice President Sara Duterte's children's book. According to Hontiveros, she will propose for the amendment of the programs under Duterte's office at the proper time.
At the proper time, sa period of amendments, magpo-propose po ako ng amendment dun sa items ng program sa OVP na katulad lamang dun sa mga programa ng mga line agencies natin, including DSWD, DOH, DOLE.
The senator also seeks amendments to the controversial budget allocation for the distribution of Duterte's children's book, Isang Kaibigan. Hontiveros points out the country's tight fiscal space, saying that departments always have insufficient funding, especially for social protection programs, those related to medical and burial services, disaster resilience, work and occupation, and other items. Hontiveros also says the 10 million pesos budget for the distribution of copies of Duterte's children's book is improper in principle.
Request yan. Dahil kung meron kang sinulat na libro, kung ikaw ang sumulat niyan, hindi dapat gamitan ng government funds at taxpayers' money para ipamudmod.
On August 20, Hontiveros and Duterte had a heated exchange during the Senate panel on finances deliberation on the office of the Vice President's proposed budget for 2025. Duterte accused Hontiveros of politicizing the government funds after the lawmaker raised a few queries regarding the Vice President's proposed funding, including the budget allocation for Duterte's children's book. Meanwhile, Senate President Francis Cheese Escudero says that Hontiveros has the right to ask questions about the proposed budget of Duterte's office. Escudero adds that he was saddened by the verbal tussle between Duterte and Hontiveros during the hearing. But the Senate President also points out that any head of agency who faces the Senate hearing about their proposed budget should answer the questions of lawmakers. Senate President Francis Escudero reminds his co-senators to refrain from talking about the possible impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte until it reaches the upper chamber. According to Escudero, there are no talks about the impeachment of the Vice President in the Senate.
Walang pag-uusap kaugnay sa Senado dyan at anumang pag-uusap kaugnay na impeachment ay kikitilin ko sa Senado dahil anumang impeachment yan, uupo na makakarating sa Senado, uupo kami bilang jury at jurors ika nga para husgahan yan.
The Senate President says the senators should not interfere with the impeachment talks until it has not reached the Senate.
Kaya marapat sa kada senador na huwag manghimasok sa anumang usapin ng impeachment at huwag pakialaman ng anumang usapin ng impeachment hanggat yan ay hindi nakakarating sa Senado.
During an interview in the Senate on Tuesday, Vice President Duterte disclosed that her friends in the House of Representatives informed her of impeachment talks against her. However, House Deputy Majority Leader Erwin Tulfo said there was no mention of impeachment of Duterte during the latest meeting of the lower chamber's leaders. A hacker group named Death Note Hackers infiltrated the website of the Senate of the Philippines and extracted employee usernames and logs, according to the Department of Information and Communications Technology. Prior to this, cybersecurity group Deep Web Connect reported on Tuesday evening that the Death Note hackers breached the Senate's information technology system. Meanwhile, in an interview, Department of Information and Communications Technology Assistant Secretary Renato Paraiso says the hacking incident was already resolved. He adds that the agency is working with the Senate to beef up their cybersecurity measure. Paraiso assures the hacking incident is not alarming. Paraiso notes that the same hacker group was also behind a data breach victimizing the Bureau of Customs earlier this year. Nearly 400 dengue-related deaths have been recorded since the beginning of the year until mid-August, according to the Department of Health. In a statement, the DOH reports a total of 396 deaths nationwide from January 1 to August 10. This figure is lower than the 421 deaths logged during the same period last year. However, the DOH notes that from January 1 to August 10 this year, there are 150,354 dengue cases that have been recorded in the country. This is 39% higher compared to the 107,953 dengue cases recorded in the same period in 2023. All regions in the country except Soc-Sargen, Zamboanga Peninsula, and Bicol registered an increase in cases of dengue in the past 3 to 4 weeks, counting back from August 10. DOH Secretary Teodoro Herbosa warns that dengue cases are expected to rise during rainy months. He reminds the public to clean their surroundings and to search and destroy mosquito breeding grounds to avoid acquiring the disease. These are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.